is the new film written and directed by Jordan Peele. It's a horror supernatural thriller, and it stars Lupita Nyong'o, Winston Duke, Evan Alex, and Shahadi Wright. And I was a really big fan of Get Out, and it was one of those films that even though I really enjoyed it when I first saw it, it was even better on a rewatch. And it showed that Jordan Peele put a lot of effort into the film, into making a story that is actually really rewatchable and that has multiple layers. And that film went on to win the Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars, and dare I say, deservedly so, even though it's a little bit controversial apparently. But I was really excited to see what he was going to do next. And now, here we are with Us. The film literally just came out in Italy. It came out like three weeks ago in the US and in the rest of the world. And just now we got the film, and I had to wait for an English language screening before I saw it because I wanted to experience it in the best possible condition. And it was incredibly satisfying. And I have to say, I loved Us. And this comes as someone who is a really big fan of horror movies, especially ones that are both incredibly literal and highly metaphorical. And that is the case with Us. And I'm going to take for granted that a lot of you have actually already seen it. I'm not going to go into major spoilers or into the big twist of the film, but I will talk about the themes a little bit, and some I consider it a bit spoilerish, so mild spoilers, warning. So here goes. This is a story of a family. The mother had a big childhood trauma in the place where they're going for summer vacation. And once they get there, there is a family of doppelgangers, of identical copies, that starts stalking them. It starts off as a really small-scale home invasion movie, but the beautiful thing is that it goes way beyond that. And it was incredibly powerful in a way. And I can see this not working for a lot of people, and I want to say something that a lot disagree with wholeheartedly, but this is one of those films that if you start to focus too much on the logistics, like with every film to be honest, it starts to break down a little bit. But is that what's important? Like, do you go to watch a movie and when some things start to get explained, do you just stop and think, well, how do they do this, how do they do that? No, it doesn't work anymore, I hate it. It's a bit childish in my opinion. There are some criticisms that can work in context, of course, but those are not enough for me not to like this film, because I had a true blast with Us. And first of all, technically speaking, you can see that he had a much bigger budget than with Get Out. He had an incredible cinematographer, the same guy who did It Follows, Split. It's a beautiful film to look at. The soundtrack by Michael Abels. Beautiful. One of the best scores for a horror film I've heard in quite some time. And the one in Get Out was already pretty darn good, but this one is fantastic. And there are also uses of music, of songs that are really effective. Everyone's talking about I Got 5 on It, which is really well implemented in the film, also in the score, as musical score, but the use of good vibrations. I live for this type of scene in movies. If I'm ever going to do a film, I'm gonna have some dissonance between what is happening on screen and with a happy song in the background, but it was fantastic. And the film as a whole was, I hate to say this because it's relatively cliche, but I've seen 500 horror movies by now. It becomes harder to get scared, and I don't even go watch horror movies anymore just to get scared. I want interesting characters, good stories, well-made production, interesting themes, and to be actually engaged in what's happening. And I was thoroughly engaged. Was I ever scared? Not really, but that's not a problem. I was very thrilled, however, while watching this. There were some moments that got to me, and it's a very very film. I can see a lot of people getting scared by some of the moments, some of the concepts in this film. And thematically, it's much more interesting than Get Out, because Get Out, as much as I love it, I've seen it a couple of times by now, it's hard to find a lot of different interpretations. Like, you can see the movie and by the end of it, especially after seeing it a couple of times, you know what it's about. This one, already by looking at different analyses, looking at different reviews, speaking with a lot of different people about it, you can see that it's much broader in terms of themes, and everyone is taking away something different from it. Especially like if you live in America, there are a lot of American-centric elements in this film about a country being split apart. The Ends Across America initiative that was done in 1986 is very important to the whole film. And those are all elements that are there, but I was mostly interested in the statements that it makes about social classes, because you have really rich people played in this film by Elisabeth Moss and Tim Heidecker, who are really good as well in this film. And these are just asshole douchey people with a lot of money. Yeah, we're living a shitty life, we hate each other, but we got plenty of dough and plenty of wealth to show off. Then you got this main family, who is pretty decent. They have a good way of living. They aren't too rich, but they live decently. And then you have the tethered, the doppelgangers. They're copies of normal people. They have a non-decent life, and you can see this in a multitude of ways throughout the film, but the beauty about this is how the villains aren't, like, they are evil, but they aren't completely evil. In a way that you can relate to their struggle, you can relate to them, and I'm trying to avoid being just downright spoilerish, but if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It makes some pretty interesting statements, and the whole theme about, you have the theme of duality, which is of course really strong, but it's not just duality in terms of the identity of a person, but also in terms of good and evil. Because by the end of this film, these concepts become really interesting, very philosophical almost in a way, where you have good characters who do evil things, you have evil characters with good intentions, and in the end, who is the real hero, who is the real villain, and it's really fascinating to see how everyone interprets the ambiguous finale. If someone is good, someone is evil. Very, very interesting stuff, very interesting food for thought, and overall, yeah, it's just it's a brilliantly made film. You've got fantastic performances all over the board. Lupita Nyong'o is getting the most acclaims, rightfully so, because she is phenomenal. And some of the shots in this film with her especially are gorgeous. There is a split dioptic shot that's another thing that I live for in movies, split dioptic shots. And it's used brilliantly here. Also, the editing is really on point, the camera work, as I've said. It's like, I don't have any big issues with this film. Dare I say I don't have any problem at all. Of course, there are the logistics that some people are starting to talk about. They're like, yeah, this doesn't make sense, it breaks the movie. Like, I hate to say it, but it doesn't matter. If you're going to judge this film because of the logistics of the twists and the reveals, like, I don't know how you can enjoy watching a lot of movies. And I'm not saying like you have to shut your brain off, but sometimes you just have to let go. Get in the flow of things, enjoy a film for what it is, for what it wants to be, and be completely sucked into the atmosphere of what the director wants to say. And I was sucked into it. I was thoroughly engaged throughout the entire film. I was never bored. There came a moment where we were in the climax and I was like, wait, it's already ending? Wow, damn. It was really, really well paced. As I've said, no complaints in every way at all, pretty much, excluding the bullshit ones, nitpicks. So guys, you've probably already seen it, but still I highly, highly recommend you watch Us. It proves that Jordan Peele knows his shit about horror movies, knows how to make a really effective one. And while Get Out is easily probably the better movie in terms of it's more focused on just one theme, one thematic, this one is broader. This one is more horror focused. This one is more gleefully enjoyable. So I can't wait to watch it again. I really can't. And as of right now, it's probably my #1 favorite film of the year. Probably a little bit early to say, of course, but the other one being Dragged Across Concrete, which I reviewed a little bit earlier during the Venice Film Festival. So I love this. But still, guys, what are your thoughts on Us? And do you want to talk spoilers? So let's do it in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.